It
Oh,
was amazing. What's up, Stu?
hello, Jim.
How are you, buddy?
I'm good.
Spring has sprung,
It's a beautiful day. Beautiful day.
and all kinds of great stuff. I had a massage today. Had blood work done. Been up doing my thing. Just it's been an adventurous day. We have a
Wow,
guest. We have a guest today, Stu.
even better.
We have a. It's like
I
okay,
was going to
cool.
ask you, what have you done today? What's your business marketing diary look like today? But it sounds like you've just been dealing with taking care of Jim, which is fine too. We have to take care of each other.
Some self care.
Some
No,
self-care.
what have I done marketing wise? Well, my newsletter's going out today, and we've been leveraging the story sprint that we've been doing every afternoon. So Nancy was yelling at me Friday because I didn't have my content done. I said, "Easy there, killer. Not only am I your dad, but I'm going to create content every single day for you next week." She said, "Oh, okay." So the story that I did in the story sprint for the content marketing folks on Monday is actually going to be the primary piece in the newsletter today. So that's pretty exciting. So we
Nice.
definitely eat our own cooking here, and so things are going great. But Stu, do
Yes.
people buy when they have all the time in the world to do so? In other words, if somebody could buy your book today versus next week, when do you think they're going to buy your book?
Whew. Probably going to do it sooner than later.
You think?
If
You don't
that
think
makes
people
sense.
procrastinate? People
Yeah.
procrastinate, dude.
Well, they do, but I mean, I think I would say this: they're either going to do it now or they're not going to do it.
Why
That
are
that
they
was
going?
my
Okay,
that was
okay,
my
that's
thinking
cool. Okay,
versus putting it off.
all right. So they're either going to do it now or they're not going to do it. Why would they do it now? Why would they do it now?
Well, I think timing is everything. I
Uh huh.
think in the moment of now, it's pretty powerful,
Uh
right? The
huh.
moment of now is like, boop, I can push a button and it's done. I don't have to
Right.
go back to it. I don't have to get back to that state. I don't have to go find what I'm looking for.
Uh huh.
There's usually a process that we have all learned as shoppers.
Uh huh.
And one of those, especially when you're online, you're like, oh, I'll check this out later. And then you can't find it.
Right.
You're like,
Okay.
where the hell I see that?
But even if you're checking it out, why do you when like I got that T-shirt, the cows and cardio T-shirt from you, and here comes product placement. Here we go. All
You mean
right,
this one, Jim?
that T-shirt, yes, and it was brand new. This one wasn't used this time. I'm excited. I was excited. So it was demonstrably new, I should say. So why did you put a postcard in there with a coupon code in it with a limited time offer? Why did you do that? Why did you put that in there? I already bought all your stuff. Why did you put that in there to include that with the T-shirt?
Well, it was just habit. It wasn't
I
necessarily
understand.
meant for you, but it was
I
one of those
know.
things too. That's what they're gonna get. If I'm
But
sending them something, they're gonna get a little something else.
but it gives them a reason to do what? A reason to buy now. It gives
Yes.
them an incentive. It takes away the waiting. And that's one of the reasons why product launches work so well for people to make a ton of money is because everything builds up to a specific time and date. And then what happens is after that time and date, either it's not available or the price goes up. And that's one of the reasons why people use that model, the product launch model, not because it works so great because it's like things should only be available for 4 days. It's because you got to give people a reason to buy now, and you gotta have the threat or the real threat of them not being able to get it. And so that's why when you do a live launch, it works great. But if you try and do it in your autoresponder, it doesn't work all that great because people know, hey, unless unless they pull down the link, this is going to be available a week from now. And when you start playing those games of, hey, this is only going to be available for the next 3 days, or you use language like, I can only guarantee this will be up for the next 3 days. Well, your autoresponder's 2 years old. I think that pretty much, I pretty much guarantee it's available anytime. So our guest actually solved that problem. And we're about to bring on Jack Bourne, who is the CEO and owner and poobah of Deadline Funnel. And what Deadline Funnel does is really, really cool. It is a tool that enables you to program one of the things it does is to program in to your evergreen launches real deadlines. So if you enter the launch, you go to the page, you get the email today, Stu, and then it's like a 5-day launch that expires in 5 days. This thing is like a tick. I mean, it's in the website, it's capturing your email, it's capturing your IP address. It's so, when you get an email, it's showing when this thing is counting down to. And then when you go to the website, it's looking the same. And then if you go, oh, I'll just go look on my phone. And so then you go click the link on your phone and it's got the same thing. It's like, hey, this thing's really ticking down. Cool. And so it also makes it legit in a way that since they can't circumvent it, it's a legit thing. So you can, with confidence, say, hey, when you're in this, you need to really do it. And I first became a customer of Deadline Funnel back in 2016, 2017. And it was amazing then, but they have just done a ton of really cool stuff with it to make it better and better and better. So I cannot recommend this software enough, especially if you want to use a product launch model to launch your stuff in an autoresponder with the following up. But there are all kinds of other cool stuff you can do with it too. Just all kinds of neat things. And Jack actually is going to be doing a summit next. I think it launches the 25th. I'm going to be in the summit. It's pretty cool. I'm teaching some copywriting related stuff with Deadline Funnels. So with no further ado, let's bring Mr. Jack Bourne to the show. Are you ready, Stu? Are you ready, everybody? Here we go. What's up, Jack?
Hey, guys. Great to be here.
So we are excited to have you here. And Jack is actually, it's the middle of the night. It's tomorrow for Jack. Because he's in Australia, or is it yesterday? I can't remember. Is it finally today?
That's right. I'm in the future. I can tell you what's going to happen tomorrow.
Give me them lotto numbers, and I'll split it with you. So we are super excited to have you, Jack. Tell us a little bit about you and how did you come to create the amazing software known as Deadline Funnel?
Yeah, so I mean, you've explained it really, really well, and the origin story goes back to when I was working with our mutual friend Perry Marshall. So Perry, believe it or not, there was a time, and I know that you know this, Jim, and Stu, you probably know this as well, but I definitely know that you know this, Jim. There was a time when Google AdWords first kicked off, and they were not the first ones to figure out that you could charge people to have a higher listing in the search engines. Back then, what were clicks going for, Jen, when Google AdWords first kicked off?
Like 25 cents, 30 cents, 50 cents a pop. Yeah, and people thought it was robbery.
I know. It was. I remember it was even less sometimes. Like you could get 10-cent clicks, 15-cent clicks. What would we do now for actual quality 10-cent clicks, right? Mm-hmm. But back then, the reason why I bring that up is because back then there was a whole bunch of people who just the whole concept of lead generation really was not a thing. These days, lead generation is just commonplace. I mean, we all know that the power of getting someone into our list or someone in our audience that we can reach out to multiple times, because we know that usually it's not going to be on the first introduction. Someone's pulling out their credit card. So Perry Marshall was one of the first people who actually said, wait a second, I've got this crazy theory that if we get people onto my email list, and if I develop know, like, and trust over time, I'm going to get more of these people to eventually become a client. And so I, being a student of his and a student of yours, the whole idea of email marketing, was something that I really bought into. But one of the things that I was also a student of psychology, and so I knew that from reading books like Influence from Robert Cialdini, that one of the most effective, tried and true, works every single time, triggers that get someone to actually take action is a deadline. And just like you were saying before, if you give someone all the time in the world, they'll typically procrastinate. And that problem has only gotten worse over time with all the social media and pings and different things that can distract us. So going back to my time when I was working with Perry Marshall, I still had some my own entrepreneurial stuff that I was doing on the side, selling courses, and I thought, what if there was a way? Well, I didn't want to do live these automated webinars. I'm going to throw a little bit of shade in that direction because one of the things that we didn't want to do is we didn't want to pretend, hey, this is live, but kind of wink, wink, nod, nod, not really. I wanted the ability to have that deadline and to have it somehow tied into, at the time, Perry and I were both using Infusionsoft in our business, but any autoresponder, like, would there be a way? And so I just figured, obviously someone else has figured this out. And so I went searching, and the more I searched, the more I realized no one had actually done this. And so I decided, it didn't even occur to me at the time, oh, this is a business idea. It was just, okay, I guess I'm going to have to build this myself.
Because you wanted the tool for yourself,
yeah.
which is the way a lot of these things come up. It's
yeah,
like, this is what I need. Let me go make it.
Absolutely. It was to solve a problem that I had. And the problem was there was a choice that I was facing, which was, I know that putting a countdown is going to work. And we certainly didn't invent the countdown. Just like, Perry didn't invent email, but
right.
Was there, but we didn't want to use it. I didn't want to use it in a way that was going to be inauthentic, where if someone happened to come back the next day after the deadline, that, it's ticking down again, it started over. We didn't want to do that because, for a whole bunch of different reasons. But, one of the things that I like to tell people when I'm on an interview is, everything that you do in your business is either improving your credibility or detracting from your credibility. And so, it's a long-term game, especially these days. It's very unlikely that you're going to just have one product that you're going to sell, and that's the whole thing. There are still a few examples of those around, but for a lot of entrepreneurs, either out of necessity or because, it's just a better business model, you're going to have multiple things that you're going to want to sell down the road. And so you don't want to start the relationship off on a unethical footing. So, you want to make sure
it makes you look like you look like a chucklehead when you're like, hey, it's not going to be available tomorrow. And then tomorrow it's available for the next 27 minutes.
Absolutely.
And then the next day it's available for the next 27 minutes. People are not stupid.
Right. Now at the time, if you can remember, like I'm taking us back in the time machine now, we talked about Google AdWords. When I first started creating Deadline Funnel, smartphones were just barely coming onto the scene. It wasn't it wasn't like we all had 5 different devices and we would, be constantly checking our email and social media. But that was one of the challenges that we had to figure out. How do we how am I going to make sure that that deadline is accurate, so that when someone is standing in line at Starbucks and they're bored and they're flipping through their email and they see, hey, today's the last day, and they click through, and this is the first time that they've clicked through on one of your emails from their mobile device, how are we going to make sure that that countdown is 100% authentic? So that was one of the challenges. The other challenge is that, people are no longer typically just building their entire marketing stack is not just in one product. Some people, there's the rare person every now and then who, every single, their email products and their landing pages and their checkout pages are all done in the same marketing stack. But it's more likely that that you're using one product for your payment pages, one product for a different type of software for your landing pages. And, for some people, it might be 5 different things in their marketing stack, including their email. And so to be able to keep that countdown, and it's not just the countdown, but the accuracy of that deadline accurate from page to page to page across different mobile devices. Sometimes I say, if I had known how challenging this was going to be from a technological standpoint, I might not have taken on the challenge. But that's the challenge that we took on, and that's what we've done year after year. Is we've continued to improve on the user interface, and just make sure that and also to improve on the technology, and just make sure that no matter what technology is out there, no matter what changes are going on with the browsers, that everything is completely accurate.
So if it's okay, what I'd like to do is kind of draw out the typical scenario, or one of the typical scenarios that somebody would set up so they can understand why having a deadline is so important. Because when you start out with, let's just take it from the like a live product launch, okay? So we got day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, all right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then again, there's a million different ways to skin this cat, but day 1, we do, video 1, and it's coming. Okay. So it's counting, we're counting down. Then day 2, you got video number 2, and let's just say it's here. So then video number 3 or page number 3 or just whatever it is, it's going to be gone. You've got 24 hours or 48 hours left. And then the last thing, okay, it's like last day and it expires at midnight, that kind of a thing. When you're doing this live, it's easy to manage this. You get everybody on a list, and then it's like, okay, I send this email today, I send this email tomorrow, I send this email the day after that, I send this email, then I probably send a last one, final notice. And then when it hits midnight, I turn off the page, put up the wait list, and it's over. And this works great. But then the problem is when I want to automate this, now I've got, emails coming in. I got an email that starts this. And then the other thing is, does it start when the email gets sent, or does it start when someone actually goes to the page? That's that's one of the conundrums. Then the thing is, if I look at the email on my desktop, as opposed to looking at it on my smartphone, and then what happens if I go look at this one and then I start out, like you say, 2 days later, it's like, let me go check this out finally. So there's and if there's an ad versus an ad, or versus a blog post or social media or something like that, all of these things that are involved. That's why this is daunting for people. That's why they default back to I guess we'll just throw up a JavaScript timer and we'll have a video on a page and call it a webinar.
That's
a broadcast.
Yeah.
So what does Deadline Funnel do to make this easier for somebody? So now I want to do this on an evergreen thing. What would I have to do to just, obviously we're not going to do screen share, but how does Deadline Funnel make this super easy? Because I know it does.
Yeah, so I thought you wanted me initially to get into the tech. I'm going to assume that you don't. I mean, Deadline Funnel makes it super easy for you to log in, and for anyone, like if you can copy and paste, then you can make this work. So basically, you copy and paste your code that we give you onto your page. Now, for the email side of it, there's one extra step that you add into your email sequence, but really it's just that simple. And we've got amazing team that can provide ongoing, support. So our live chat is actually live, so you can actually go and get your questions answered. That's another one where we thought, hey, I got an idea. What if that live chat was actually answered live? So we're there to support you, and if you have any questions. But basically, Jim, what it does, so probably the most popular, it's certainly not the only way that you can do it, but everyone has an opt-in. So or almost everyone that is listening to this has some sort of opt-in, some sort of lead magnet. So you're getting them onto the email list. So whether you don't have to be taking them into, you could be taking them into a 4-day launch sequence like you're showing, but I would say probably the more common one is either an immediate upsell. One of the easiest things you can do is an immediate upsell on the thank you page. Like, hey, because you're just here, here's this $19 thing that normally you can't get, or it's normally $99 and it's $19, and you've got 12 minutes to pull the trigger. This is the only time that you're going to get it. But then what could happen is you could have another deadline that happens, let's say 5 days later. So you send out some emails, case studies, know, like, and trust. And it could be as simple as, hey, because you just joined our list for new subscribers, or you just joined my audience, you're a new, subscriber to the XYZ newsletter. As a new subscriber, we have a special deal, but it's only good for the next 48 hours. And so, you would tell them about this on day 3 after they've read about your case studies, they've learned a little bit more, you've given them some tips that will get them closer to their goal, and then you give them a limited time offer to take action on it. So that's another way that can be done, where it's triggered based on when they opted in for that lead magnet and got on your list.
So quick question. Yeah. Let me just ask this. This makes sense. But I know the question on everybody's mind is the offer here and the offer here, is this the same thing, or is it 2 different things? I'm assuming it's actually 2 different things.
2 different things. Yep.
Okay.
2 totally different things. Yep.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So, this can be used a whole bunch of different ways. You mentioned the launch. So you could take everything that worked at a live launch and you could make it more automated. You could have one of the cool things that we did was, Perry likes to make things really super complicated, because he's an engineer before he was a marketer.
Right.
And so with Infusionsoft and with pretty much any like ActiveCampaign, ConvertKit, you name it, you can set things to be triggered. So you could say, look, after someone's been on my, in my list for 30 days and they've gone through the first sequence, wait 48 hours and then apply this tag and put them into this next sequence. Well, so whatever you have going on behind the scenes might not start with an opt-in to get into that second sequence. But Jim, what you could do is you could say, okay, Infusionsoft or ActiveCampaign or Entreport or whatever you're using, tell Deadline Funnel, that's when I want the deadline to start. So behind the scenes, Stu, I could be on Stu's list for 14 days. And behind the scenes, even though I haven't done anything, Stu's system said, hey, it's time to put Jack into the special offer funnel that's going to last 5 days. Now, I don't know that, but all of a sudden I start receiving emails that's going to lead to a deadline that's perfectly matched to the number of emails that are going out. And this can all be triggered behind the scenes. So there's a whole bunch of different ways that this can be done. So I want to make sure, I don't want to go too advanced too quick, but one of the most powerful things is that you can have everything triggered based on how you want your audience to, go through their journey. It doesn't have to start on an opt-in. Doesn't have to start on a specific day of the week, although you could. It can be based on, I was on Stu's list for 14 days and I clicked these 2 things, and that was the trigger that in his email system brings me into that special offer sequence that'll last, let's just choose again 5 days, but it could be 6 or 7 or whatever Stu wants. And at the end of that sequence, there's going to be a deadline, and all the if he puts countdowns on his sales pages and on his checkout pages and in his emails, the countdowns that he uses from Deadline Funnel, they're all going to be synchronized and all match up to, what the emails are telling me. So when the email says, hey, Jack, today's your last day, I go and I say, yep, there's only 10 hours left or 5 hours left or whatever it is.
So one of the cool things that I heard you say is that it doesn't have to start with an opt-in, but you could decide when it starts. So if somebody's already if someone's already on a list or somebody happens to somebody, you can automatically do this on an individual basis once certain criteria are met. So another thing, like what we do with some of our membership stuff, when someone gets to a certain level, they automatically go into another membership level, and we could have it tied to them hitting another membership level. Mm-hmm. And then have some sort of a thing. So what's cool about this is that what's super cool about this is that you can have deadlines, legitimate deadlines baked into the whole process. Now, let me ask you this. This was the question that Susan had. We saw a guy doing something that I thought was super, super cool. So he had a automated webinar So he had an auto webinar, and it wasn't really, he wasn't claiming that it was actually, they were calling it a podcast replay. So it was obviously, it wasn't that
live.
It wasn't live, and they weren't even trying to make you think it was live. They weren't even trying to make you think it was a broadcast that you were signing up. It was a replay. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to take that off. I'm just going to say, okay, it's just obviously some sort of a replay. And then on the thing, he made a $497 offer, and then it was $197 a month for some software. But did a good job on it, made you want to get it. But since it was a replay, obviously, and he said in there, I'll make it available for your people the next few days, when he was talking to the guy. But obviously this was a year ago, at least, because he even says 2021, which is a big mistake when you're say any kind of a date in anything you're going to do that with. But the bottom line is the link that they gave sent over to a page where he had a thing that said, if you sign up in the next 9 minutes, and then it was counting down, I'll give you another $100 off. So if you sign up right now, it's $397 plus $197 a month in 30 days. And I thought that was really cool because it created that urgency. Someone had watched that. They were like, obviously, okay, I want to go check it out. I'll pay the $497, but then it's like they're still going to wait because they know they can wait. But then by doing that extra $100 off, but only giving them 9 minutes to sign up, because it was an order form. There wasn't a ton of information. It wasn't a sales letter. It was an order form. It was either buying or you ain't. I thought that was brilliant. And so our question was, is it possible to do this in addition to using like a 5-day thing?
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So you can, so we're jumping into, I wouldn't call it the deepest end of the pool, but we're certainly not in the kiddie pool. The simplest way to think of it is inside of Deadline Funnel. And by the way, if anyone wants to just, play around with this and go, well, how does this work? There is a 14-day free trial, so you can test it out for yourself with no cost whatsoever. So once you're in there, what you do is anytime that you're going to have a different deadline, you just set up a different campaign. So Jim, in this example, this would be a 9-minute countdown. Okay. So as soon as someone, if I understand the setup, and I think that I do, as soon as someone arrives at this page, you would have a 9-minute timer in this example.
Right. The order page.
Right. Again, using your example, they would probably have it set up so that when someone registers to watch the replay, they're probably either getting tagged or they're going into a sequence, or this is the first time they've opted in. Whatever that is, that trigger, that start, so yeah, they raise their hand in some way, saying like, I'm going to go watch this thing. I'm interested. They would get a tag, a signal would go to Deadline Funnel saying, hey, start the 5-day countdown, let's say, for Jim specifically. And here's his email address, here's his IP address, cookie him, etc. And so within 5 days, even if you don't take advantage of the $397 and $197 offer, the rest of the emails could say, listen, if you don't take it, if you don't jump on this now, this is the only time you're going to get it. Or, maybe this is a discount off of the normal $997 price, or maybe there's additional bonuses that you get with it, or maybe all of the above. But the best deal, the very best deal was the 9-minute version as soon as someone goes to that order page, because what they're doing there is they're continuing the momentum, right? They're preventing someone from procrastinating. Before I was in the online world of selling, I was in, I did some selling face-to-face in a couple different industries, and the training that I got said that the delay of the sale is the death of the sale. When someone is interested, that's the best time for them to take action. It's the same reason, by the way, if I know that you guys have done retargeting or remarketing, one of the things that people say is the people who have been to your website the most recent and the most often, though, that's where you want to spend the most money, because there's a huge drop off, with retargeting. Someone who visited your site 6 months ago is not going, your likelihood of getting that retargeting ad to generate a sale is a lot less likely than someone who has visited your site in the past 12 hours, 24 hours, 48 hours. Okay.
Right.
And so you see the same effect, whether it's launches or retargeting, but we're taking the same concept, which is that people go into buyer's mode for a certain thing, and then they're going to buy pretty much everything that they can on that topic, or they're interested at that point, but their interest is going to fade over time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we can do is the first time they go to the order page, we can have a separate deadline funnel that says, hey, order right now and I'll give you an extra $100 off. You will never see this again. I don't mention this in the emails. I don't mention this anywhere. This is it. And when this is gone, it's really gone. And so when it's gone, and then when they come back, next time they're not going to see that. All they're going to see is the offer for $497. That's it. And, if you email the help desk and all that other stuff, which sometimes people do, then you have to make a decision whether or not you're going to give them the $100 or not.
Right. Yep.
So
that absolutely is something that you can do, and it's super, super simple to set up. Those short, 9-minute, 12-minute countdowns and deadline funnel are very, very simple to set up and super, super effective. So what I want to get across is that no matter what sort of funnel you have, no matter whether it's because someone just joined your list or just registered for your webinar, or if it's for an automated sequence that, it's going to everyone based on an action that they took, and that action is what puts them into the sequence, you can have deadline funnel start at that time and end at a specific time, so that that when, at the end of this 5-day sequence, I keep saying 5, it could be 7, it could be 9, it could be whatever, after this multi-day email sequence, that you have a deadline, and the deadline is going to be completely legit. Just as an example, I should have had the iPad next to me, but anyways, everyone knows what an iPad looks like. I did a demonstration several years ago. This was pre-COVID, but I was flying back from the States to Australia, and this is on my YouTube channel and was also on the website. But what I did was, in the airport at like 6 a.m., I recorded myself starting as a prospect in a new active campaign sequence, which is the email system we use. And I said, okay, I'm going to hop on the plane and I'll see you over in Australia. So a few days later, I'd recovered from the jet lag. I went with my daughter, turned the camera back on. We drove to the nearest Apple store. I bought an iPad, unwrapped it, opened it up, did the thing where it transfers all your stuff over. But obviously it's a completely new device. We're in a completely different location. We're on the opposite side of the world. So I open up my email and it shows, 8 hours left or whatever it was. And so, just to show that extreme example of, even if someone were to fly to the opposite side of the world, buy a new device, open it up, and then start reading their email on that device and then click through, they're going to see the exact deadline that your system is telling them. So, I just wanted to share that story to just give everyone the level of confidence that that's the type of technology that we've built into this to make sure that your deadlines are real and authentic. So
that's awesome. That is super, super cool. And that is, it has come a long way. I mean, it was amazing when you first started, but it's come an even longer, cooler. It's amazing. And so we're using it. We're excited about all the possibilities of just using it even more, because this, in an age when everybody is demonstrably operating with less attention span than a goldfish, anything that we can do to get people to act in their own best interest now and to do it on an automated basis, I think is super, super important. And as somebody who has done a lot with a lot with autoresponder marketing. I mean, I've had autoresponders that have had as long as 3 years worth of content in them. I can tell you it's neat to see stuff come in. It's like I got one in particular that makes an affiliate offer. And like every day I'm making sales from this webinar that I did a year ago with an affiliate, as an affiliate for somebody else's thing, but it's in the right spot. But I know that if we did that with Deadline Funnel, it would be even more effective. So we're going to build that in and, do really. And let me ask you this, and this is, now we're getting real specific. If I had and I have, this
You're asking for a friend.
Yeah, I'm asking for a friend. I've got a rat. My friend's got a rash. So this setup that we have with this vendor that I'm an affiliate for, would it be okay for me to set up a Deadline Funnel for just my link and stuff, and like get him to just put the code on the page for me?
Absolutely.
And I could basically just graft the Deadline Funnel onto his special page that he set up for me?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll give everyone two ideas. So I've been a top affiliate for certain vendors years back, and I know that you certainly are a top affiliate for certain people. So some of this you guys may already know, but one of the most effective things that you can do, especially in the online world, and if you're selling something digital or a course or something like that, one of the most effective things that you can do is you can add on your own bonus. All right. And so you see people doing this in a launch all the time. So if you've ever been on someone's email list where Jim's telling you about someone's launch that's going on, he might throw in an extra bonus. You've certainly seen people do this. And so you don't, again, this kind of ties back to the conversation that we're having of, okay, what works in a launch, and kind of unravel that and just realize, oh, wait a second, you don't actually have to only do that for a launch. So one of the things that I think you alluded at was that, in a launch, that if you look at the sales cycle, when you first open the doors, like, hey, the cart's open, you can finally get this, you see a surge in sales. The sales kind of dry off a little bit over the coming days. Hopefully they don't drop to zero, but the day that is the most exciting is the last day before the deadline. And everyone who's been leaning into your messaging, attending your webinars, reading your emails, but they just haven't pulled the trigger, that's when all the sales go through the roof, right? And so what if you could take that, why is that? Well, it's because of the deadline. Okay, how can we do that in a legitimate way for everything that we're doing? I like to say you really don't have an offer unless you have a deadline, because if you say, look, I've got this special deal, special pricing, special this, but you can get it any time, then how is that really an offer? Like you actually have to have a deadline. Just like Stu has that promo code that goes out when someone purchases, in the offline world. If I understood what you guys were talking about, Stu includes something in the delivery of that gift. So it's sort of like the real world, sort of not the sort of the physical world version of an autoresponder. Hey, the trigger was you bought this thing. I'm giving you a limited time offer to buy this next thing, right? And so you do the same thing in another environment. In the digital world, it doesn't have to be a launch. So coming back to affiliate marketing, what you can do is you can have your own bonuses. So if there's something that you have, a checklist, a cheat sheet, a guide, an extra video that helps someone understand something, or really just fits hand in glove with what it is that you're promoting, and it's only specific to you, well, that's a great reason for someone to purchase from you during the launch. But you can take that same concept and in an evergreen fashion, just like you were talking about, that could be part of your special offer for someone else's product that they can only get if they purchase before the deadline. Now, so you could have that special offer on a page that you can control. But Jim, and this is a tip that a lot of new affiliates, or even I would say, even people who have a little bit of experience, don't really realize, is that if you start making sales for someone, they're very, very open to hearing ideas that you have about how you can increase their sales. So, Jim, if you contacted me and said, Jack, I want to promote Deadline Funnel, I've got this special thing that I want to do. Can your team set up a special page for me where you put this code for deadline funnel on that page, and I'm going to send people to that page? And also, would you consider putting it on a checkout page if we could, send my people to a specific checkout page? And my answer would be, hell yeah, if you're going to keep promoting this day after day after day, absolutely, I'd be happy to. And so that's something that, so idea number one is consider using bonuses. Idea number two, don't hesitate to reach out to the person whose product you're promoting and say, hey, would you consider doing something unique for me? Most of them will say yes. And that's something that not enough affiliates really consider. So
Right.
Those are two ideas that can work really well hand in hand. And like we mentioned before, with Deadline Funnel on a tech level, because Deadline Funnel works across all sorts of different platforms, pretty much every platform you could think of, there's absolutely no problem for you to say, okay, even though this is Jim Edwards' code, he's going to, hey, Stu, would you put this on your special page so that people that I send to you, they're going to see the same countdown that they saw in the email that I sent to them.
Right. So let me ask you this, and this is now I'm definitely just, geeking. Does Deadline Funnel help at all with the delivery of that extra bonus, or is that something you would coordinate with the affiliate?
Yeah, that's something that you would coordinate with the affiliate, but
Okay.
Deadline Funnel does actually show you tracking. So one of the things, we don't purport to be, a replacement for Google Analytics or Wicked Reports, but one of the nice surprises that people find inside of Deadline Funnel is that it's a very, very simplified dashboard that shows you, hey, through this marketing campaign that's that you have Deadline Funnel running in, here's how many sales you're making. And so a lot of times, especially in this day and age where, tracking is, with the battle, the battle between Apple and Facebook and everything that's going on around that, the ability to just look in your dashboard inside the Deadline Funnel and say, okay, well, one thing that I know for certain is this week I've made, $1,000 from this campaign, and I can compare that to my spend. So again, it's not going to be a replacement for a sophisticated analytics package, but if you want some simple answers about, look, I know what I'm spending because I look at my credit card bill, or I can look inside of Facebook. I know how much money I'm sending to Zuckerberg. How much, what am I making off of this? It's very, very easy to figure out.
That's awesome. So we're going to do one last thing, and then I want to give everybody some cool info about what you're doing. But we're going to bring Susan on. Ready, Susan? 3, 2, 1. And Susan had a neat little testimonial for you. She's been my technical right-hand person because she majored in history just like me. So obviously we were going to have an internet business. Susan, talk about the talk about what you did with setting up Deadline Funnel and your experience with that.
Really simple, because we were also doing a workshop at the same time, so I was half paying attention to the Deadline Funnel and to the workshop. And it was easy. It was really simple. Your instructions are great. You walk it right through. It was so easy just to click buttons and everything just set up, and then gave the links that need to be put where they need to go. And it was phenomenal. I got it done in less than 2 or 3 hours, and it was awesome. All ready to go.
And you got integrated with our autoresponder and all the stuff in there, and everything was cool. So we're huge fans, and if it gets Susan's seal of approval, then we know it's good. Because if it wasn't, she'd be like, well, if it wouldn't be that. So cool. Thank you, Susan. I appreciate that very much. So I just want to encourage everybody that Deadline Funnel is amazing. Oh, Stu, you got something to say?
Real quick, right? I actually have something to ask, and it'll kind of help us tie it into the show as well, since I am the producer of the show. And you blindsided me with Mr. Bourne today, which is I learned a lot, so I'm not complaining. One thing we always try to do is we try to coach people, teach people, motivate people to be nimble enough to evolve with, especially with technology of business today. Where do you see the next generation of deadline funnels occurring? or not necessarily when, but what do you see that it could potentially evolve into?
Evolve into? Yeah, that's a great question. So one of the things that we've added into this, and so Jim was mentioning that it's really developed over the years. Sorry, about a year and a half ago, my team said, we're already tracking all this information that's coming in from all these email autoresponders. We're getting, this information to help to make the software work behind the scenes and to be so accurate. We're already receiving the inbound information from the checkout pages so that we can show people what their sales are. What if why couldn't we also show one of those proof countdown, or not countdowns, but one of those things in the bottom left or bottom right hand corner that says, hey, someone just registered for this webinar 5 minutes ago. Susan from California, from San Diego, California, just purchased this, 1 hour ago. And so this real-time update of live activity that's happening, so that you have now, again, bringing it back to the book Influence and Social Proof, Influence by Robert Cialdini. One of the other big levers is social proof. We always look to what other people are doing. We don't like to think that we're just following the social signals, but it's such a strong and powerful signal. Did it get 5-star reviews? How many reviews did it get? All those sorts of things. And so to be able to show, look, there's a lot of activity. People are registering for this. It's really, really popular. And to be able to show that real-time activity, again, in the bottom left or bottom right-hand corner, really helps to move those sales along. And so that's what we've done. So that's depending on
Nice.
what level you subscribe to with Deadline Funnel, because we're already collecting that information. So in other words, if you set up Deadline Funnel to, start when someone opts in, we're already collecting that information. So why not help your sales even more, so that when someone goes to the checkout page, or if they're let's start back on the opt-in page. So on the opt-in page, if you're showing, look, all these people like you are just signing up for this all the time, and you can see the real-time updates, it makes you feel more comfortable to go ahead and opt in. When you're on the checkout page and you see, oh, someone from just around the corner purchased a little earlier today, and this person on the other side of the world purchased 5 minutes ago, that again gives you that confidence that, okay, I'm going to go ahead and make that purchase too. So all these things help to improve someone's level of confidence. And then in that widget, we've gone even further, and we've given you the ability to do things like have a video. So one of the sometimes, so Jim, I've got your book on copywriting just on the table over there, and it's absolutely fantastic. But I think, I don't know if you agree with this, but I find that sometimes the best thing that we can do is just to be crystal clear on what's going to happen next, right?
Yes.
And so it doesn't have to be the fanciest headline, although of course headlines help. But sometimes it's just explaining, look, holding their hand in that moment where there might be that last little bit of hesitation. And so for example, Stu, you could put a video on that checkout page in that bottom left-hand corner, right where you see, oh, other people have joined this boot camp just like me. But you could also have a video there where you're saying, hey, my name's Stu. You've probably been reading my emails. I just want to let you know you're in good hands. Here's what's going to happen. As soon as you click this button, you're going to be receiving these emails. Here's someone from my back office, and she wants to say hi. She's going to be sending you out an email, and this is what you're going to get in the mail. And so just very clearly and plainly explaining what's going to happen next. So, or you can have a testimonial reel in that video. So there's a whole bunch of different widgets that essentially you could put in there. You could have a video, you could have the real-time activity, showing up. You could have your best testimonials showing up in a carousel in there. So that's really where we've taken it beyond just deadlines, but also just helping provide that social proof and other signals that make it a lot more comfortable for someone to take that next step with you.
Neat. There you go.
Oh, okay. That was good. That was Stu's considered opinion. Neat. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I think the cool thing that a few things about what Jack and his team do, they really support the product. They've been doing this now for years. A lot of times you see software, people come out with it, and then they just kind of let it ride and it dies and people sign up for it. But they make it work. We're using it in our business right now. and are going to continue to use it more and more and more because we're seeing that it's working. And I'm just going to be totally upfront. It's a lot easier to use now than it was 6-7 years ago. So it's a no-brainer now. Honestly, it's a no-brainer. So if you want to make more sales, you got to use Deadline Funnel. I mean, that's the bottom line. Now, for people who might be on the fence about it, you guys have a cool thing coming up on the 25th that I'm participating in. Tell people about the Deadline Summit Funnel Summit. What's up with that? Because that's going to be really, really cool.
So for the first time ever, we're putting together a virtual summit that is teaching everything that you would want to know about evergreen. So we've brought together some of the world's brightest minds, including Jim. You're going to be speaking at this event. Your content's going to be part of this, and I think you're going to be talking on storytelling and copywriting, and so we have 30. I think we're up to 36 people who are, they cover traffic, they cover conversion, they cover pretty much everything that you need to know. If your thing is social, or you want to get into social media marketing, you want to know how to do it right, we've got experts who are talking about that. If you want to learn how to do paid ads and do paid ads right, we've got experts who are going to talk about that. If you are currently marketing on Facebook, but you just feel like your costs are going up and you're hearing about YouTube advertising, we have people who are going to talk about YouTube advertising. So we've got some of the brightest minds talking and sharing their wisdom with you, and it's completely free. So it's completely free for you to attend. So it's going to be April 25th through the 27th. You can register now. It's at evergreenvirtualsummit.com. evergreenvirtualsummit.com. And so, you can go over there and sign up, and you can see the list of names. So we've got Perry Marshall, Pat Flynn, of course, Jim Edwards, Joel Irway, Mariah Cause, Dan Henry, Alaric Heck. Let's see here. Andre Chaperone. Do you know Andre personally, Jim?
I do not.
Yeah, I gotta connect you guys, because I think you guys would really geek out on storytelling and copywriting. You know of Andre, right?
I've heard of him. Yes. Yeah.
So lots and lots of people, many of whom I didn't name just to save time, but you can go over to the evergreenvirtualsummit.com and see the list of speakers that we have. So if you want to take your business evergreen, of course, we're talking about Deadline Funnel a lot. I really appreciate you guys singing the praises of the software that my team has worked so diligently on, and to improve it year after year after year. But even if you don't use Deadline Funnel, the summit is not about Deadline Funnel. It's really about the techniques that you need, and you can use not just in evergreen. You can use a lot of these strategies and tactics in launches, but really the whole theme, the whole purpose of this is to help you make more sales on an evergreen basis, so that you can have a more reliable business, so that you can enjoy your life a little bit more. I'm not going to promise a 4-hour work week, but certainly, a business that's built only on launches, you can only reach a certain level. You've got to be able to have money and sales coming in on a regular basis. And then when you do those launches, how much better those are, because you've been building up your list of not just subscribers, but of buyers that entire time, people who know, like, and trust you. And then when you go into that launch, whether you do it once a year, twice a year, 4 times a year, your launches are going to be better. So having an evergreen component to your business, in addition to the launches that you may already be doing, is such an important thing for the longevity of your business, for your sanity, for your family life, the ability to take vacations, and also the ability for you to have the confidence that you can go out and hire the team around you. People like Susan, it's difficult to have team members like Susan, and I'm sure, Stu, you've got team members in your back office. And so they want to get paid, every 2 weeks or at least monthly. If the only time that you have revenue coming in is when you're doing a launch, it makes it really, really challenging for you to keep and retain quality team members that are going to help you move your business forward if only 2 or 3 times a year you have a major income event going on. So
God help you if one of those doesn't hit.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So awesome. Well, we put the link in there for everybody to hit it. It's April 25th through the 27th. I'm planning on my whole team and I attending, because there's going to be tons and tons of really, really cool stuff. And all you need is just one idea to be able to change everything. And the list sounds like a who's who of people who know absolutely all the different aspects of evergreen funnels and stuff. So definitely you want to check out the evergreenvirtualsummit.com. We've got the link in the comments for everybody. And any final thoughts, Jack?
No, I just really appreciate you guys giving me an opportunity to talk to your audience. And, again, if my team can help anyone watching, to help them evergreen their business, we certainly would love to show you what Deadline Funnel can do. One of my, if you look on our testimonials page, one of the things that I love, one of the big reasons why I do this is to hear testimonials like Abby Ashley. So if there's only one video that you watch, it's a short one, look for Abby Ashley on our testimonial screen, because I was interviewing her when I was in Sydney, and I remember the sunlight's, I've got my laptop set up, and my family is still asleep because the time zones are so screwed up. And, I can barely keep my eyes open because the sun's coming right over the laptop. And I had no idea what Abby Ashley was going to say. And so I'm interviewing her, and she said, yeah, I had this business. I was doing $10,000 a month. And I had this automated webinar, and my coach said, you really need to try Deadline Funnel. So I added it in, and with no extra advertising spend, I went from 10 grand a month to 60 grand a month. And I almost spilled my coffee on my lap. Now, not everyone has that big of a jump. I'm not going to, your results, may vary. But at the same time, that's one of my favorite stories, because it's we talked about this. Thank you for giving me the opportunity, the platform to talk about the software. But it's really about the change that, entrepreneurs are having in their business and their ability to, just take their business and do so much more. I mean, the same amount of work, the same amount of advertising spend, but a lot more result. That's the type of life-changing result that my team really thrives on. And so, thank you for the opportunity to reach your audience. And if anyone listening or watching is, interested, or at least wants to give it a try, we're over here. We're real people, and we generally want to help you out. That's
awesome.
My message.
Well, I appreciate you, Jack. Thank you so much. And we appreciate everybody being with us today. We will pick up with the podcast next week, but this was super, super useful information. Go check out the Evergreen Summit, and definitely want to check out Deadline Funnel. So I'm Jim Edwards for Stu Smith. Thanks, Jack. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye, everybody.